How's it going, everyone? Got a lot more to talk about in regards to the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Obviously, I know that this game is super controversial to even talk about. I've made my opinions pretty abundantly clear that I am incredibly skeptical for the game, but I am very hopeful for the game at the same time. You guys had a lot of pushback in the last video I uploaded where I talked about reviewers not getting copies of the game, and the Suicide Squad has just had a bit of an update, with the official Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Twitter account noting this. We're aware that a number of players are currently experiencing an issue whereby upon logging into the game for the first time, they have full story completion. To resolve this issue, we will be performing maintenance on the game's servers. During this time, the game will be unavailable. We expect this to take several hours and will update once we have more information. We apologize for the inconvenience. Now, this is in regards to those of you that did have the early access period for the game. If you guys don't know, this is one of those games that do the early access shtick, but the game has already been pulled because of this bug. Obviously, this is not a good sign for the ultimate release of the game, and I imagine that I got a lot of pushback in my last video. Obviously, people are excited about this game. People love DC, etc., etc., but it is wild to me how many people look at everything on the table that we have heard about this game so far. The delays and the lengthy delays that we had for this game. Remember, this game was supposed to drop in early 2023, I believe May of 2023. It is finally coming out. On top of that, the game being pushed back because the footage didn't look too great, and really, I look at the gameplay thus far, it looks fine. It doesn't look blow away, but that's only what we're seeing. And then obviously, and what has caused a lot of controversy recently, is the fact that reviewers are not going to get game keys for the title until the servers go live. This happens before with multiplayer-centric games, but with Suicide Squad, I feel like you could have offered game keys and you could have let people, you know, play cooperatively. It's not like this is totally reliant on online play, in the sense that, yes, you need an always online connection to play the game. Don't get it twisted. There will be an offline component that'll be added sometime post-launch. But as far as its cooperative aspect, it's not like you need an abundance of players at the same time. You could have figured out a way to get this game to reviewers. And I'm not saying just because I wanted a copy of the game. I have a pretty good relationship with Warner Brothers, but I legitimately don't care if I get access to the game or not. What I care about is some people getting access to the game. And I saw a lot of people pushing back into the comment section being like, hey, why do you guys care about what reviewers want? Play the game for yourself. Guys, if you want to play the game for yourself, you have to drop the $70 unless you borrow it from a friend, unless you rob your local store. I don't know how you're getting the game. The whole point of reviews is so we can at least get the vantage point and the assessment of the game from a varying of opinions, hopefully most of those opinions being objective, because without reviews, what do you guys have? You guys have marketing information from Warner Brothers, who are obviously going to show you and promote the game in a way to get the most sales possible, because it is in their vested interest that the game does well. I am so shocked that this is even a discussion point in my comments section. It's one thing if you want to say, hey, whatever, the game has an online focus, you know, wait until post-launch. If you want to wait until after release, fine, by all means. But to just completely push back on any reviewers, I don't care. Let IGN get a copy of the game. Let every reviewer get a copy of the game, because more opinions is a good thing. And then if you have opinions that are at least from a somewhat objective standpoint, outside of you being fed the information from Warner Brothers directly, which is fine. They got to do their promotional campaign, but you have to separate the promotional campaign from at least some sort of objective opinion so you can come to a conclusion on whether or not you want to spend your $70 on it. Because that whole argument of come to the conclusion for yourself, guys, that there's an issue with that. There's a direct issue with that standpoint of come to the conclusion yourself, because if you want to come to that conclusion, you gotta buy and play the game. If you at least have information that'll influence your buying habits, well, that's one thing, and then ultimately that decision is gonna be for you guys to make. The standpoint of whether or not we get a review copy is really irrelevant to me. I just offer you guys that idea of, oh, come to the conclusion yourself. Coming to the conclusion requires you to buy the game. The whole point for reviewers to get a copy of the game is so they can influence your buying habits, and then you can go to the reviewers you trust, because there's so many of them, and they all explain games, and they all have their different tastes, and they're always gonna have their biases. I mean, if you offer the game only to hardcore DC fans, well, then, you know, it is what it is. But just offer that to you guys, because there was a lot of pushback on that video where reviewers just have to be abolished. I don't care if I don't get a review copy ever again. I don't care if I don't get a promotional copy ever again, but reviews being abolished entirely. You can disagree with review outlets. You can have your opinion that you disagree with the majority of reviews. Great, but you want to have some sort of at least relatively objective opinion outside of just the promotional material being fed to you, because promotional material is great, but you can be very picky and choosy with what kind of promotional material you get, just offering that to you guys. Suicide Squad is interesting because obviously I go back to the fact that this game is being done by one of the most revered studios in gaming history in Rocksteady. They legitimately delivered quite possibly one of the greatest video game trilogies of all time with Batman Arkham. We often say the best superhero video game trilogy in gaming history, but really, I mean, Spider-Man hasn't even wrapped up as a trilogy, and who knows if that's going to be more than a trilogy or what the deal is, but what is the competition for best superhero video game trilogy ever? I'll just go ahead and say it's one of the best video game trilogies ever, and if you want to make an argument that it's the best video game trilogy ever, I don't think that's a crazy argument to make. However, Batman Arkham Knight came out all the way back in 2015, June of 2015. It has been damn near 9 years since the release of this game, and what we're getting at this point has a lot of red flags. We've been through this song and dance, and yes, there's been times in the past where review copies weren't given out. Doom 2016 is a game that I go back to, and I talk about how great that game is. Guys, guess what? That game didn't have review copies sent out pre-release, but I'll tell you what, Last of Us Part 1 on PC didn't have review copies sent out pre-release either, and that game didn't turn out all too well, at least initially on PC, so I just offer that to you guys as well. I'm not saying the fact that review copies aren't being offered is a death sentence for this game, no, but it's one of many things that have been, you know, a little bit of a question mark raiser for this game, and I just offered to you guys, like, everything that we're seeing thus far. You know, this game legitimately getting pulled an hour into early access due to auto-completion glitch, like, that's something you would hopefully get ironed away, and maybe, just maybe, if there were some sort of review copy sent out, that could have been something brought to the table by one of the reviewers to Rocksteady, you know, in a private email, and, you know, they could have got that squared away pretty quickly. I mean, that's just something to consider. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, you guys, and I get it that they have to let the servers go live, etc., but I'm just giving you guys, you know, my assessment of the information that I do have. I'm sure they could have figured out a way. I mean, they let people preview the games. It's just there were a lot of critical headlines and preview material. I mean, if you want to push back on some of the preview headlines and things like that, more power to you, but, you know, they're just giving their assessment off playing the previews, and maybe some of it was a little bit sensationalized, but that's ultimately an opinion that you guys can come up with. But I have my skepticism regarding this game. Regardless, there's so many great games coming out that really Suicide Squad is just one of many, and I've been saying it over and over again. I really do hope this game turns out well. Again, I don't want Rocksteady to be another studio that's perceived as, you know, their best days are behind them. You know, a lot of people look at a BioWare like that, and I want Rocksteady to be like that. Who wants Rocksteady to be like that? Guys, I grew up in my formative years playing Batman Arkham. Like, it was a big part of, you know, I'm not gonna say it was my favorite gaming franchise growing up, but I'll say it was a damn good one. Nobody wants Rocksteady to be a shell of their former self. Nobody wants this game to be bad. At least I don't think so. It's just, we gotta assess the information we have, and it's not looking too great. It's a $70 game, $100 deluxe edition, early access gimmick, battle passes. It's just, that kind of stuff is just not what a lot of you guys are gonna gravitate towards. I get it, the hardcore DC fans are gonna live and die by this game, and maybe that's where a lot of the pushback is coming from. It is the diehard DC fans. I'm not a big superhero guy, so at least in the weeds as far as Marvel, DC, and all that, but yeah, I like to assess video games for what they are, and the information we have about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, at this point, at very best, it's a little bit questionable, and I would be a little bit hesitant in dropping your $70. That's all I offer to you guys. That's all I'm saying, but let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.